Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. Another Saturday shout out in the Thrive Tribe. I'm very, very excited to welcome my friend John to the Thrive Tribe shout out. I will tell you that he's having me do this really early in the morning. So I have my coffee and I'm ready to roll because he's on an adventure. But welcome, John. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I'm John. I'm the co-founder of Core Innovate and software as service. Mozi is a writing across the curriculum software. And I'm excited to talk to you about it.
So tell us, now John and I happened to get reconnected. Well, connected. We happen to go to the same high school, San Pedro High School, by the way. I'm doing fight on like it's USC, not USC.
That too.
That too. And we got reconnected through a mutual friend. And I found out about this wonderful business that John's got going on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I've been in education for 25 years now, I believe, even maybe a little bit longer. I stopped counting. I taught for 11 years in middle and high school in urban areas. And then I worked for a nonprofit for another 11, 12 years, working as a director of professional development and an instructional coach. And while I was doing that work in school transformation and also working in schools of high need, me and my business partner, my current business partner, Jane Patterson, started thinking about, what are the biggest barriers that we're seeing for students to be successful in college and in career. And we started reading and talking. We started talking about writing. Communicating ideas seemed to be the idea. So we did some research and found out that only 28% of high school seniors are proficient in writing. So we said, hey, what can we do about this and what have we been doing? And so with that, we decided to find a way to make it easier for teachers to assign more writing and then also to support students in eliminating those barriers that I felt even as a writer with the blank page syndrome and having a lot of ideas but not really sure how to organize them. So we set out and created Mozi, and here we are. So we did that I left the nonprofit 4 years ago, started Core Innovate, which is our company, and then we started working on Mozi. My business partner went back to the classroom to try it out on paper, and then we raised a little bit of money, and we built it, and we launched it for sale 2 years ago, and we've been going at it strong ever since.
That's awesome. I know, having been a former English teacher myself, that sometimes teachers are like, oh, I want them to write, but I can't grade all those papers. I don't want to do all that. So I'm going to give them something easy. So you said that Mozi kind of helps with teachers with that. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, well, my business partner, she's a former English teacher, and through her lens, we wanted to make it streamline the grading process. Listen, it's still difficult to grade. It takes time. It takes energy. If you're going to give, feedback, it's time consuming. It's not fun sometimes. So what we did is we streamlined the process, and we have an editing palette and a grading palette within Mozi. So when you go to give targeted feedback, you could simply highlight areas that need attention. You could select a button from our menu of choices, and then it will highlight it for the student, and then it will follow up with a mediative question on the end of it. So when the student gets their paper back, they'll see that feedback, something was highlighted, like for example, real simple for my son, capitalization, and then it'll follow up with a question: why might this need to be capitalized? So it's tapping into their cognition and helping them think through why a particular thing might need to be edited and what are the rules behind it, or what are the main ideas. And then also there's a rubric built in, so we can simply just grade on the rubric and export the grades into your roll book, and it makes it faster and efficient. And then for our non-English teachers who don't necessarily grade for grammar and grade for all the structure, and they're grading more on content, they could simply read it and then grade on the rubric and then give the students instant feedback. So back in the day when I taught, we would have over 200, I would have over 250 essays in the back of my trunk, rolling around, and then I would be grading them. And when I grade them, it would take forever. If I spent 5 minutes on a paper, it would take me hours and hours and hours to grade 200 papers. And by the time I got to the last paper, I didn't even realize where the students were struggling. Maybe the last 5 informed that, but with Mozi, we get data reports. So after we grade all the papers, we know exactly where the students are struggling or where they're having some successes, and then we can reteach accordingly. So we streamline that process. And then the English teachers can request revisions, and they go through that process. But most non-English teachers, content teachers, PE, art, dance, social studies like myself, we would just give it a grade, give it a read, give it a grade on Mozi, and then the students would get that data back instantly rather than bounce around in my trunk until I finish grading all of them.
It sounds, so I'm a huge believer in feedback.
Yeah.
And so I hear two big things. One is the feedback for the student, because as you know, recently being a student myself again, just getting those papers back that say like, good job, or say nothing, were not helpful. And so I loved papers with feedback. And then also just the feedback for the teacher, as you were saying, like knowing where the strengths and weaknesses are. I mean, that's huge. So I like that. So tell me this, Mozi, where did that name come from?
Yeah, well, my business partner and I were searching for names, and I'm not going to lie, we sat down with a bottle of wine and started brainstorming. That wine turned into whiskey, and we started brainstorming some more, and we had a list of about 50 names, and Mozi didn't come up on that list. And then the next morning, she had called me and she said, "Hey, I have a great name for us." And I go, "What is it?" "Mozi." I said, "Mozi, what does that mean?" And Mozi's the Chinese philosopher who's credited for the argument essay, or the art of argument, Chinese philosopher. So I said, "Mozi, that sounds interesting. That's nothing like anything that we've come up with, and it actually has some meaning behind it." So we went with it, and so far so good.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to put some links to your website and to other things that they can do to find out more about Mozi in the comments below. But now I'd like to kind of just ask you just some other questions.
Yeah.
So let's start off with, what do you feel is your purpose in life? That's a big question, but without overthinking.
Yeah, well, it's changed throughout my career, early career. My purpose in life was always kind of, I'll be honest, my wife will tell you too, it seemed like it's always about me, and I wanted to, have fun and enjoy life. But then when I started teaching, I realized that so many people don't get to enjoy that type of purpose, to have fun and make the best of the situations that you have. And my situations, to be honest, were pretty nice. I grew up with two parents, with a working father, and was able to go to college and had a lot of friends, and was able to surf and play sports. The students I was teaching, many of them in foster care, many of them high poverty, a lot of homeless students. They didn't have the luxuries that I had. They didn't have the social capital I had when they do graduate from high school, if they do, to be able to go tap into friends and family and get jobs and be able to, build on that social capital to be successful. So it was an eye-opener for me. And that became my mission in life, is to serve and to help students of high poverty in particular get to that next level. And I know that education is really the only way to do it. I know people have, and my students had lots of challenges from physical and mental abuse, like I said, homelessness. And my role, I saw, was to keep them in school, keep them excited about school, give them a safe place to be, get them excited about learning, and hopefully they go to the next grade level. And then long term, I would share with them about, college and life after college, and give them a vision, help them see a vision beyond what they saw. So that's my purpose. And Mozi fits right in that, because when we can teach students, a good friend of mine, Jose Navarro, he's a principal, said, if something along the lines of, it's a social justice issue. If we can give students a voice, if we give children and people a voice, then they don't have to have someone speak for them. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do.
I love it. I love it. So the Thrive Tribe is focused on well-being, not so much physical well-being, but more social, emotional well-being.
Yeah.
And so when you're having a rough day, or you're feeling like you need to rejuvenate, what is your go-to well-being strategy?
Oh gosh. I mean, a couple. I surf, so if I have the opportunity and luxury to be able to take some time and go just get in the ocean and paddle around and catch some waves, that's my go-to when I have that luxury. I'm working a lot. I have 2 children, so finding that time to surf isn't necessarily there. And I think more than not is just stepping back and breathing and taking in a deep breath and pausing and remembering, what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis is is worth it. It's going to change people's lives, and just remind myself of that, and keep that drive, because the goal that I have about for our world, for life, is it's lofty. So I have to just step back and remember I'm a part of it. And here's a phrase that I tell myself all the time. A couple. You don't have to touch everyone to make a difference, and tiny events create major disturbances. So I'm trying to be
I love that.
a tiny event, and just remind myself of that, and that gives me some purpose.
I love that. And I've never heard the tiny events piece, and I like to add, I'm going to add that to my little repertoire. One of the things I like to talk about is the starfish story. It makes a difference to this one. I even have a little starfish tattoo right here to remind me that if people watching this video, maybe nobody will watch it, maybe 100 people will watch it, but if it makes a difference to one person, it's worth every minute to me. So, all right, here's some random questions.
Yeah.
If you weren't in education, anywhere near education,
Yeah.
what job or profession would you be in? What's your secret profession desire?
Well, gosh,
I have heard you sing, I'm just saying, and play the guitar.
That would be, I would love to be a rock star, but my talents don't allow that. I always wanted to be a professional baseball player. I played all through high school and college, and that was another big piece of my life. I had that luxury to be able to get college paid for and stuff like that. So baseball, being a pitcher, I'm too old for that now. I'm too old to be a professional surfer. I know we're talking about social and emotional well-being, but Anthony Bourdain, I'd like to take his place and travel the world and eat, drink, and tell stories. And I think that the stories, and that's also, I think, also connected kind of what I do here. I want people to be able to tell their story and tell stories of others.
I love the story. I just thought of a whole show for you, John. Like you could focus on educators. You could go eat and drink with educators across the globe and talk about the difference in education and what educators drink around the globe, because it'll be different drinks.
Well, the way I know most educators, how much they drink, the show might only last a few minutes, but that's a great idea, actually. I've done a little bit about that. I just got back from Korea for the Olympics and met with a number of educators, and we had some cocktails and stuff and talked about the differences. And
I think that would be cool. Yeah. If you ever do that, please have me. I should get to be a guest and go travel for a little bit.
For sure.
Okay. One thing that you want to learn more about that you don't know a lot about now in the next year. It's one thing you want to learn more about.
Oh, God. I mean, everything that I do, I want to learn more about, but to be honest with you, excuse me, I can't answer that. There's too many things I want to know more about. I mean, I think that just we started a business. We're educators, and we work for nonprofits. Starting a business, we're now 4 years into it, 4 or 5 years in it. I want to know more about it still. I'm still want to know more about how students learn. I still want to know more about how we can motivate students who aren't motivated and necessarily to come to school every day. So that's a cheesy answer, I guess. That's really what drives me. I want to know more about that.
Love it. All right. So SiriusXM gives you a half-hour radio show. They say, John Matich, you can play whatever you want for this half hour. What are some things you play in that half hour?
Music-wise?
Yes.
Music. Wow. I posted on Facebook the other day. It may have been a drunken Facebook post, but I posted how much I'm digging Cardi B right now. So Cardi B would probably be in there for some reason. Forgive me, friends. I've already gotten a verbal from a lot of my friends on Facebook. Led Zeppelin for sure. I never turn off the radio when there's a Led Zeppelin song. I think it's not appropriate to turn that off. Amy Winehouse comes to mind. And probably one of my other favorite bands, Radiohead. I play a lot of that. So I like songs. My wife always tells me, why you listen? That's so depressing. I like songs that remind me of like why we exist here on the planet and what our role, what I believe our role should be. And I believe our role should be helping others. So songs with themes like that, I think would be appropriate.
I like it. All right. Don't overthink this question, but if you could teach the world just one thing, what would you want them to learn from you?
Easy. Listen to understand. And before you can get others to understand you, listening to them and be able to understand where people are coming from, what their perspective is. Everybody sees a rainbow from a different angle. And that's the one thing. I think if we can do that, that would change the world dramatically, because even my friends who have different opinions and we jab at each other and we spar, but when we sit back and really look at where they are coming from, or where, and they take the time to see where I'm coming from, at the end of the day, we agree on most things. So that's it.
Nice. Okay, so I'm just going to do one more question. This is a new thing I'm just starting. I saw it on, I was watching Seinfeld's Comedians and Coffee and Cars.
Yeah,
And he asked, yeah, I would love that one. He asked one of his interviewees, what question do you have for me? So this is a little risky. I'm just going to throw it out there, but what is one question that you have for me?
Well, I've had the privilege to work with you recently in the last couple of weeks, and I know that you have a wide range of experience. You've worked with a number of people around, and we have a similar, while our work may be titled something a little bit different, it's pretty much the same. So my question for you is what do you see as, what are you most hopeful for, and when it comes to education?
I think what I am most hopeful for, what I want, and so I'm changing that into hope, is that we focus a little bit more on educators themselves. I think we focus on students, and don't get me wrong, that's really important. But if we only focus on students without focusing on the people who serve the students, we are not doing it justice. And so my hope is that educators in leadership, the general public, will learn to respect teachers and to give them the training and the wellness practices that they need to be right there in the trenches, if you will, with the students, with lots of resilience themselves. So that's kind of my hope.
Yeah, we need to take care of ourselves, and it's that airline metaphor. We put the mask on ourselves, or we can't take care of our children. That's awesome.
Absolutely. All right, kids. Well, thank you so much for being here, John. The rest of you, happy Saturday. We'll put links to John's stuff in the comments below, and maybe some links to some of his half-hour music that he would play. We'll put some songs in there too. If you want to be a Thrive Tribe member of the week, or if you have a heart-based business that you want to share with the Thrive Tribe, please just reach out, message me, and we will highlight you. Thanks, John.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.